Hello, hello, hello. The mask is back, okay? Now we have UFC 312 here, and it's actually pretty underrated. Now, I gotta hurry up with this one because it's pretty last minute here, you know? Fight's about to start. So we got Calvacanti versus Alvia here. Now, I don't know too much on these girls, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, but I think that Alvia seems like, from what I've seen, what little I've seen her last fight, but from what little of that I've seen, of her career as a whole, even from what little I think that she's maybe going to be a little more athletic, not athletic, but more strong. And then Calvacanti's probably going to be just all around more technical, even if she's a little bit less technical in the uh, grappling or even the um, clinch. I think that she's going to hold her own there, and she's the better kicker, striker, puncher, boxer all around. And I could even see her having due to her technique, better strength and power in her punches. So I'm going to say a 30-27, although it's going to be a little disappointing for some people who think that it's going to be a shutout all the way. I think it's going to be a little more competitive than that. Especially since it's a minus 700, I think there's going to be some people disappointed in that. But it's going to be a 30-27, somewhat competitive. And now we have Walter Walker and Dontel Mays, the GOAT. He's the GOAT. But, the GOAT's going to be slain by the boat. The best of all time, Walter Walker. 6'6" Chad, he's going to get the heel hook again. Or was it a leg lock? Yeah, heel hook. I think that even though he's not going to get that, I'm trolling, but he's going to get the win. He's going to get it by a decision. I think a 30-27. I think it's going to be pretty close in either the first or the third round. I think that actually it could be a 29-28. Dontel Mays is probably going to get a strong either first or third round due to him having decent athleticism in the first round, or Walter just being tired in the third round off of laying on top of Dontel Mays and trying to maybe get submissions, or just having the better control time. He's just trying to contain Dontel Mays on the ground, and eventually he gasses or something. So I could see Dontel Mays winning the first or the third. So ultimately, it's going to be a decision for Walter Walker, but it's going to be a little more competitive than people think. Unfortunately, the first two are going to be decision. In fact, I think the first three are going to be decision, but underrated fights, I must say. Just because it's a decision doesn't mean it's going to be boring. Let's be honest. Maybe Walter and Mays will be a little boring. Elijah Smith and Vince Morales. I think that Vince Morales is actually underrated. You've seen that he has some obscure submissions in his past against people outside the UFC, and he's number 73 in the worldwide bantamweight rankings just off of having a decision loss against Taylor Lapilus, who is actually in the top 30-ish, top 20, 30-ish of the bantamweight division. He's actually underrated. One or two more wins, and he's probably in the rankings because he has gotten other 30-27s in the UFC quite impressively against some other guys that were considered prospects. And Vince Morales, he's actually he's 34, not the youngest, and Elijah Smith is quite young, so maybe he'll show some veteran experience. Maybe he'll get a leg lock. Maybe he'll get a leg lock. Who knows? He'll get a maybe surprise submission. But I think that Elijah Smith is the far superior striker from what we've seen. Now, yeah, it's closer than what the Tapology fans are suggesting. I think that the betting odds are more accurate, but I think that Elijah Smith is gonna have the takedown defense enough to not get caught in some like obscure submission or even a rear naked. I don't think he'll end up getting the back. I'm talking about Vince Morales. I don't think he'll get the back of Elijah Smith here. So I'm going to say a probably 29-28. I could see a knockout though. I could. Or a submission, honestly, from Vince Morales. But if any of the first three fights are going to be a finish, I would say it's this one. So yeah, I'm going to say decision. Now this one's finally going to be a finish, and I'm surprised that he's pretty much a 2-1 underdog. I'm going to go with Chaos Williams here, and even the freaking Tapology people, 58%, come on. I mean, Gabriel Bonfirm has okay striking for sure, and they're kind of 50-50 to be honest. But, like Chaos Williams doesn't have the greatest technique, and that's why I picked Carlston Harris, as well as the fact that he has decent submission game. He has a good jiu-jitsu game. Carlston Harris is the guy that Chaos Williams last fought, and he KO'd. And that was due to the power. You see, Chaos Williams, like, I feel like he was getting out-techniqued in that fight a little bit, but then it was just similar to the Carlston Harris versus Ponzinibbio. It was just that he eventually found the shot, And Carlston Harris does not have the best chin, nor can he take power shots off of two really heavy swingers like Chaos Williams and Santiago Ponzinibbio. So, but Chaos's was more devastating, and it was in the first round. So, I mean, we compare that to Gabriel Bonfirm, who is also similar to Carlston Harris. I might have said Carlston Williams or something like that earlier, confusing him with Chaos Williams. But Carlston Harris, he's similar to Gabriel Bonfirm, honestly, because Gabriel Bonfirm, he don't get me wrong, like Gabriel Bonfirm has maybe a little more power, maybe a little more athleticism, maybe a little better striking, you could say, but he kind of got outworked against Nicholas Dalby, and Nicholas Dalby, he's really good, but he doesn't have any power. He doesn't. He was just Gabriel was just gassed in the third. I think it was the third round, and he just couldn't keep up with the pressure. So I think that against a guy with no pop, no power, getting finished, it's like that's not gonna look good in a fight the lead up to a fight against Chaos Williams, whom it doesn't matter if he's getting out techniqued. He just needs the one shot, which he usually does find. So I'm gonna say around a late round one KO. That's what I'm going with here. I could see a mid round two TKO, something like that, where it's kind of competitive, and then he just finds a wild looping shot around the guard or something, maybe behind the ear. But yeah, I'm gonna say round one. I'm more confident in a round one KO than a round two. And we have Rafael Estevam versus Jesus Aguilar. Um, I think that this is a actually closer fight than what people think. I'm definitely going with Rafael Estevan. Um, I think they're flyweights, so it's not really gonna ultimately probably not gonna be a finish. But I think Jesus is being heavily underrated in this fight. Jesus Aguilar is really good, and he has good boxing. I would say decent takedown defense. Not bad, not great, but it's in the middle. Ultimately, it's his hands that win him the fights. And Rafael Estevan, he is more of a jiu-jitsu guy. We know that, and he's gonna secure rounds off that. And he could even, he could find some submissions. I think that he could. It's a real possibility that he could find a rear naked choke or a guillotine or something like that. One of the more common submissions. But I definitely don't think that it's the most likely option. I think it's either going to be a Jesus Aguilar piecing him up, maybe around 3 TKO from him, but because people are really underrating him in his hands, and even just his ability to win this fight. But or the most likely, other than Jesus winning with the hands, is a decision from Rafael Estevam. I think that he's going to secure good moments, similar to the Walter Walker Dontel Mays fight, but a flyweight version. So it's going to be a little more interesting, a little more competitive, probably. I'm going to say decision. And then we have Angela Hill versus Ketlin Souza. I'm going to say Ketlin Souza wins this. I think that she's way more strong, way more athletic, especially at this age. Even though another guy in this card that is at the same age as Angela Hill is someone that I'm actually going to end up picking, I think that Angela Hill being 40, her being super active is actually going to play to her detriment, because in this fight, we got to consider that Angela Hill, she's a little like athletically. I'm not gonna say her chin, because she's definitely not been chinned as of recently. Let me just double check so I don't look stupid. Yeah, I knew that was a decision, but I just had to double check. But she not like a guy who's been on like a 3-fight KO streak or something like that. She's not like that, but she has had a lot of fights. She's been really active, and she is ultimately, not she's not as athletic. She's not as young. That's why I believe I picked her against. Maybe I didn't pick her in that one, but I definitely picked her in some previous fights like those two that you just saw there. And, I think that Ketlin Souza, she's had a decent momentum here. And as well as this, I think that her youth and just her strength in the clinch is going to play a factor, because Angela Hill, she does like certain clinch moments. She does actually have underrated jiu-jitsu, but I think that Ketlin is gonna just outmuscle her off of those exchanges, and she's probably gonna overpower her in these clinch moments up against the fence. So I'm gonna say that I could maybe see a TKO, but I mean, are we really gonna trust that in a WMMA fight, especially at strawweight? I don't really think so. So I'm going to say a close 29-28, but ultimately Ketlin Souza, even though she's not as technical, arguably, I think that she's just going to be more athletic, more strong, more built for the weight class. And yeah, I think that she's got a stronger momentum even. And the confidence is that's going to play a good factor for her. A good it's confidence to have 2 wins compared to the 1 loss for Angela Hill. Although I kind of like Angela Hill, so I kind of am rooting for her. So Souza decision though, and then we have Jose Delgado versus Connor Matthews. I don't know anything about Jose Delgado. Maybe I did. Maybe I watched like a contender series. I don't know why I'm stuttering right now, but yeah, I think I did watch his contender series, but it was a little while back, so I kind of forgot. Connor Matthews, yeah, he just, I was expecting him to be the superior boxer against Dennis Bazooka, but he just wasn't. And then even Dennis Bazooka was out kicking him in moments. And then unexpected, when it went to the 3rd round, I think, an unexpected KO, an unexpected, I think it was a hook, yeah, left hook. Just now saw that. And yeah, I mean, it came out of nowhere, really, because it looked like it was going to a decision. It looked like a clear 30-27 it was going to be, but then boom, he found the shot. So, yeah, I just think that Connor Matthews, he doesn't really have a good chin. He has decent power, then there's no question in that, but, he's slower. He's not going to find the shots. And I think that Jose Delgado, he from what I remember, he does have decent record KOs. So I'm going to say a round 2 TKO. I think that's a pretty good pick, especially for someone that I don't remember too much of, but remembered his contender series was in fact a KO. So I'm going to go with a round 2 TKO, especially since Connor Matthews, he probably doesn't have the chin to withstand a guy who's also, longer, and he's going to be harder to find the shots on, and taller even. So I think that he's just going to use his athleticism, his youth, his skills. Connor Matthews just looked slower, and his boxing just didn't look as good against Dennis Bazooka than in his fights against regional opposition. So I'm going to say round 2, TKO. And then Rodolfo Vieira versus Andre Petrosky. I'm going to say I think, let's mix things up. Let's go with the submission here. I was going to say a decision. I was going to be boring, but let's go with this freaking submission here. I think that Andre Petrosky, it's not a good look getting KO'd by someone's hip, okay? He has put on a couple of wins here, put a couple win streak here against some lower level opposition, against the guy that Roman Kopylov hurt to the body with, I think it was a kick. I mean, what was it? What was the name? Josh. It's a J, I think. Not Josh Emmett, not Josh Petrosian, not something like that. What is it? Josh Fremd. Josh Fremd. The last name I don't really know. I don't remember, and then Dylan Budka as well. I was pretty confident in picking him against Dylan Budka, but, Josh Fremd I picked against Petrosky. I thought that he was just going to be bigger. Maybe he was going to be a little more stronger, athletic, but no, Petrosky's good. He's good, but getting KO'd by someone's hip, I don't think that he has a good chin. I don't think he has a good... and then he got KO'd by... or was it? Yeah, Michel Pereira. Man, I'm forgetting a little bit, but I do actually remember that fight. I just wasn't sure if it was his second loss here or if that was previous in his career. But yeah, it was. And then before that, it was a split decision to Gerald Meerschaert. Yeah, I think that he's winning against these far less good MMA grapplers. He's winning against these far less superior grapplers, far less skilled, than a Rodolfo Vieira. I was surprised how well he handled Armin Petrosian. Similar sort of sound to the name. So I got confused a little bit, but that's besides the point. I think that Vieira is, I'm gonna say round. I'm gonna say round two, late round two. I think that it's gonna be very competitive in the first round. Andrei Petrosky's maybe gonna out muscle him in the first round because I think that he's probably more jacked, more muscular, a little bigger. I think even though it says that they're the same height and reach, I didn't see the weigh-ins, but I think that he's probably just seeing how he had a similar size in his physique to Michel Pereira, who is really strong and athletic in the first round, and you could see that in his weigh-ins as well. Seeing how he was comparable in the weigh-ins to him, I think that he's going to outstrength Vieira in the first round, but ultimately the far superior jiu-jitsu is going to be leading to a Vieira win in the second round. And then we have Ismail Bonfim versus Nazim Sadikov. And this one's really interesting. I think Sadikov is a really good underdog. I think Ismail Bonfim is going to piece him up early. And I think Nazim Sadikov is going to find a good second win in the second round or second win. And he's going to find a perfectly shot takedown and secure that round. But then I think that the third round, Ismail is going to be Ismail Bonfim is going to be on that in the third round, and Nazim is going to be a little bit gassed. Keep in mind that his last fight was against Vyacheslav Borshev, while Vyacheslav Borshev has already fought twice in the meantime. He's out for a while, like 2 years it feels like, 1 year, 2 months. Okay, it wasn't that long, but I guess that shows how active Vyacheslav Borshev is. Pretty active guy, you know. But in that fight, like, he was getting really pieced up against Vyacheslav. And now we see that Vyacheslav is getting pieced up by Tom Nolan in certain moments. So, I mean, I think that he's going to find a perfect takedown in the second round. And we know that Ismail doesn't have the best back take defense. We saw this against, Benoit Saint-Denis, BSD. And, you know, Ismail Bonfim, I think he has good better boxing. So I think that it's certainly a really competitive and close fight, and I do not think that the odds, as well as the Tapology fans' picks, are suggesting that, and it's kind of underrated, a pick that is Nazim Sadikov. However, I do think that he's going to get pieced up in the first and the third, so I'm going to say decision. I could see a finish. I really could. I could see a back take from Nazim getting the finish, getting the choke. But I could also see Ismail maybe piecing him up and wearing on him in the third. So it's an interesting one, but I'm going to say decision. I'm going to be a little safe on that one. Edmund Shabazian versus Dylan Budka. Dylan Budka, he's not that good. I understand that Edmund Shabazian isn't as good as a Cesar Almeida. Great kickboxer, you know. We just saw him get a vicious KO against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. We saw that. That was a crazy finish. But I do think that Edmund is maybe a little more, even though he doesn't have the same technique as a Cesar Almeida, to get like a second round knee after wearing on Dylan Budka in the second. I don't think that he's like that sort of technician, but instead I do think I could see like an elbow or like a decently timed takedown just off of pure athleticism in the first or second, you know, or just feinting a takedown into an overhand, you know, because Edmund is athletic. We know this. And that's how he was winning his older fights in his career. And let's be honest, I know that we like to say, oh, wow, hype train derailed all this. But let's be honest, in hindsight, the guys that he was losing to are really good, okay? Let's not deny that. Let's not beat around the bush here. So, and you know, Gerald Meerschaert, like, yeah, that wasn't the greatest, but, you know, he was, it was a bit of a learning experience, you know. Maybe don't go for the head when you hurt him to the body. I'm sure that if he sees that against Dylan Budka, he'll capitalize, especially since Dylan doesn't really have any finishing instinct as far as we've seen in the UFC. So I'm going to say a second round TKO. Maybe a vicious KO, though, because his one against AJ Dobson was pretty vicious, you know. At least from my recollection, I'm pretty sure it was a pretty devastating one. Ground and pound, at least it was. So yeah, round 2 TKO, I think. And then Calvin Kattar versus Youssef Zalal. I think that this one's more competitive than what the odds suggest. And I know I say that a lot, but it is true, especially with this one. Calvin Kattar, though, he has a knee injury. He has shown that even though Aljamain Sterling's a certainly better grappler than Youssef Zalal, we have seen difference in his game now that he has seen, don't know why it took me so long to pronounce that, seen, you know, a grappling style be a problem for him. We've seen that. So, you know, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be as dominant, but I do think it's going to be a 29-28. I do think that Kevin Kattar will find some decent boxing exchanges in the third round, and I do think that he'll survive the chokes attempts from Yusuf, but I do think that he'll find some back takes in the first or second, or both, even. I could see it. And ultimately, you know, Calvin Kattar has decent boxing still, but the knee injury, the fact that that's still there, he's going to be worried about that. He's like, oh, I don't want to get it injured again. I don't want to have to go through surgery again. The fact that he's 36, almost 37, definitely out of his prime, not going to have the same athleticism, right? I just think that ultimately his ability to get off the bottom and to get out of a back take situation is going to be hard for him. And Yusuf Salah has shown some decent knees in his last fight, and even on top of that, he's shown, and they're pretty similar in size, so I could see Yusuf Salah still finding those knees. And even if he doesn't, you know, he has good kicks, decent kicking game. Now his boxing is definitely going to be less good than Calvin's, but I still think that he'll find the moments in first and second round. And it's possible that he could find a choke, but if Aljamain Sterling can't, I don't think he will. So I'm going to say a decision 29-28. Yusuf Zalal, he's going to, you know, he's making a run for Ilia Topuria, although I don't think it's going to be realized. I don't think it's going to be successful. I think he's going to lose along the way against, I don't know, maybe an Arnold Allen if he gets Arnold Allen after this fight. I think it's a real possibility that he gets Arnold Allen, and then he just gets outstruck on the feet, and being a more athletic Calvin Kattar, he'll just stuff the takedowns. So I don't think he'll get to Ilia, but who knows? Who knows? Gregory Rodriguez versus Jared Cannonier. Why is he being so underrated? Yes, he looked like he almost got KO'd against Caio Borralho. And yes, I picked him against Nasruddin Imavov. I'm going to talk about that in a future video about predictions I made before this channel. Yes. I picked Jared Cannonier to get finished by Nasruddin Imavov, and he did that. And he did get finished. Even though it was kind of suspicious or suspect, whatever you want to call it. It was a weird one. And yes, he almost got finished against Caio Borralho. But he won the first few rounds against both guys. Now, okay, you could make the argument for Caio Borralho, but it was a competitive fight until he got rocked badly and dropped badly in the fifth round. It was competitive, and it was competitive as well in the Nasruddin Imavov fight until he got rocked badly against, I think it was a slapping right hook or maybe an uppercut, something it was. I don't fully remember what it was, but I mean, he's synced these guys up a little bit. And sure, Jared doesn't have the greatest power, but Gregory Rodriguez has a bad chin. He really does. You know, Abus Magomedov was able to take the shots that Gregory Rodriguez couldn't on a weak notice. Hulk Bruno Ferreira, I think his name is. The guy whose nickname is the Hulk. He's like 5'10". The dude came in on like a week's notice, I think, in a Brazil card, and he just KO'd Gregory Rodriguez as a 3-1 favorite, I think. And so Gregory Rodriguez has shown in the past the willingness to stand on the feet, you know? And if he's willing to stand on the feet long enough against Jared Cannonier, yes, he doesn't have the best defense, but offensively, he is a monster compared to Gregory Rodriguez. Gregory has decent power. He has decent pop in his shots. I mean, we saw that against Brad Tavares, but he didn't drop him. Yes, he felt it on his guard. It was pretty crazy how he freaking bounced him when he was, you know, landing those shots on the guard of Brad Tavares. But he doesn't have nearly as good form as Jared Cannonier. He struck with the best. And the only reason why he lost to Israel Adesanya was because he just wasn't going for it like a Jared Cannonier would. And I don't really, you know, I mean, Israel Adesanya is good. You know, people are kind of taunting him a little excessively at this point. There's you're either taunting him far too much or you're glazing him far too much. But either way, I mean, Jared Cannonier has shown that he is able to strike with the best when he actually wants to go for it. And I think that this is really going to be his time to shine here. Gregory Rodriguez can take him down, but he has shown again, like I said, he's shown a willingness to strike with these guys who he wants to prove a point against, like a Bruno Ferreira, the Hulk, whom he got KO'd by like a left hook. I think it was a fake right to a left. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with like a round, maybe he gets taken down in the first, late in the round, but then he survives just enough, just barely, and then he sustains a little bit of ground and pound. But then in round two, he just freaking hits him with a beautiful straight right, and then he just finishes the job. That's what I'm going with here. I think this is crazy that nobody's picking Jared. He is a very great fighter. He is an elite of the elite, and he is not gonna. This is not a Robert Whitaker, Hamza Chimaev. Okay, he does not have a broken jaw. He does not have surgery on his teeth. He has none of that, and yeah, he got rocked. He doesn't have a great chin, but neither does Gregory Rodriguez, and his defense, in my opinion. Yes, he keeps a decent high guard, but his like head is he has a long neck, and so that's gonna be a big target. It just is. And these long neck, long build guys are easier targets than these guys like a what's a good example? Like a Imavov, who even though he is tall, he doesn't have that long neck, like sort of like lanky build. Gregory, he's like built, but he also has like a bit of a long lanky build. So I say all this to say he's gonna get like a goofy KO'd. And it's going to be kind of satisfying seeing that everyone's down in Cannonier. Although I like Gregory Rodriguez, I like him, I really do, but I just think that it's too much too soon. Number 6 or 7 ranked, when you're not even ranked, like come on, brother, come on. Yeah, this is my picks for this fight card. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Masked MMA out.